Tyson Fury, the heavyweight boxing champion, has already challenged Francis Ngannou to a potential mega fight. But after the UFC heavyweight champion renounced his title by rejecting Dana White's new contract proposal, he repeated the act.
And what you call special people have to be sometimes eccentric, emotional fools. You saw these rocket scientists and stuff like that.
In contrast to the narrative White used, which claimed that Ngannou wanted to compete against weaker opponents for more money, Ngannou's reality has nothing to do with that idea. He will undoubtedly attempt to win much more money than what Dana White has ever offered him in various sports. But this latest challenge from Tyson Fury shows that Ngannou is by no means attempting to take on weaker opposition. The fact that Francis wants all the smoke from one of the two best heavyweights in the world right now says it all. After losing one of the greatest heavyweights in UFC history, Dana White was merely trying to maintain his composure. During a recent interview with the Seconds Out YouTube channel, Tyson Fury laid all his cards on the table. Additionally, he disclosed some information regarding a potential matchup with Alexander Usyk and stated that talks are still ongoing. As you are all aware, Tyson Fury would be competing in a sport that is not his by taking on Francis Ngannou. He'd most likely be mauled by Tyson Fury if they enter a ring together. Tyson provided Francis with a fresh option because he is fully aware of this.
And I don't care about all the fights, I don't care about going down in history, I don't care about being a role model, and I couldn't give a what anybody thinks about me, to be honest. I care about beating you.
Fury offered special terms for this potential mega fight because he is so confident in his abilities. The entire combat sports community turned their attention to Tyson Fury after he started using 4-ounce gloves and fighting in an octagon. Everyone in the world would pay to watch that fight, as the interviewer stated. Francis Ngannou, I know you're out of contract with the UFC, Fury said. Want to make some serious cash? Visit the Gypsy King today. For the most dangerous MF on the planet, let's have a huge fight. Let's make it hot and spicy in a cage with 4-ounce gloves, according to Queensberry boxing rules, and with an Iron Mike Tyson-esque referee in charge. Have I just sold the world on that? We'll fight Ngannou if the contract with Usyk for the upcoming boxing match of the century isn't signed.
There can be no doubt now. You are absolutely the #1 contender. You just knocked the #1 contender out cold with an absolutely spectacular knockout.
Who knows if it will take place in Wembley or Las Vegas? We'll find out pretty soon, I believe. We're leaving for greener pastures if these guys don't come up and sign the contract for the big fight. The fight between Tyson Fury and Francis is definitely one to look forward to. Francis versus Jones is another highly anticipated match that we won't be able to see anytime soon. Francis Ngannou does not think he will face Jon Jones because of the lucrative UFC contract held by his opponent. Jon Jones, a UFC superstar, defeated Cyril Gane last weekend to win the vacant heavyweight title previously held by Francis Ngannou. After failing to reach a new contract agreement with the organization, Jones was given a shot at the title in his very first fight and is no longer on the UFC roster. Many are calling for Ngannou to come back and attempt to reclaim his title now that Jones has done so with a dominant performance, despite the fact that he intends to fight in the ring. Additionally, the former champion appeared to blame the division's new king for a showdown never happening while evaluating Jones's most recent performance. Ngannou claimed that he was confident that Jon would win this fight if he arrived in a positive frame of mind, as opposed to his previous two fights. Ngannou thought Jon put in a great performance and was surprised by how quickly the fight ended. Ngannou had hoped to face Jon because he knew that if he could defeat Cyril in a wrestling match, Jon would present a different challenge.
Could have done him in the first round, that's being honest. But what would that have done me? I got 4 rounds instead of 30 seconds, basically. And I enjoyed it.
However, because Jon has a lengthy contract with the UFC, that fight did not take place and is now unlikely to do so. After winning titles in 2 different weight divisions, Jones has proven to be the best fighter in UFC history as a result of his triumph. Now that he is a champion, it is unknown if anyone will be able to defeat him, but Stipe Miocic is anticipated to be his next opponent. After leaving the UFC, Ngannou is reportedly in talks with a number of new labels, according to TalkSport. According to rumors, he might participate in the PFL, a rival promotion, or even sign on with Bellator, where he might also box as part of the deal.
Oh, with some serious power.
It's all over! Knockout! Francis Ngannou! Wow! Vicious uppercut!
The head of Bellator, Scott Coker, claimed that they are in touch with Francis and that they are making the case to him for why they share a parent company with Showtime Pay-Per-View Boxing. Francis would have a home in both mixed martial arts and Showtime Pay-Per-View Boxing, making Bellator a one-stop shop for him, he continued. Bellator and Francis are still talking to each other. As for Tyson Fury, if he wants to fight Alexander Usyk in April, they must come to an agreement this week. After defeating Derek Chisora in December of last year, the Gypsy King faced off against Usyk, the undisputed champion, to discuss the possibility of a showdown that would determine the first undisputed king since 1999.
Let's have a little tickle, come on. Let me feel this power on the Alabama Slammer.
Hey.
Come on, get up.
Are you serious?
Let's
You
have a
ready?
little body spark. Come on, I want to feel it.
Hey, let's do it then. Shit. I'm always for it.
Since then, there have been numerous rounds of negotiations to settle on the fight that was originally planned to take place in Saudi Arabia. However, recent events have cast new doubt on the negotiations after neither fighter was able to reach an agreement to hold the fight in the Middle East. Wembley Stadium is now the likely venue for the fight on April 29. Fury's promoter, Warren, also stated that a settlement must be reached by the end of the week in a new update on the negotiations.
Put me anywhere in the world and it's going off, because I am the Gypsy King. It's for all my German fans out there. I'm Spy.
In a recent update to the negotiations, Fury reportedly stated that it was all coming to a head but wasn't quite finished, according to Warren. He continued by saying that in order for it to happen, both boxers would have to agree, which they do not currently have. The proposed date is April 29, but they still need to work out the contract with the venue, he said, adding that it wouldn't go past the end of that week. Warren emphasized that while he could not force Usyk or Tyson to engage in combat, they desired for it to occur, and that everyone, including him, desired to witness it. He thinks Tyson would win, making history, and it would enhance his legacy, but he couldn't make it happen.
I'll tell you what, he's weak as well. Meaningful as it will if Pisco lands one.
Now there, Fury steps forward and lands a left hand. The standards are much lower for Tyson Fury.
Finally, Warren said that he had a pot and that he could only pay what was in it. Otherwise, nothing would happen. In what would be his final victory in the heavyweight division, Fury is determined to face Usyk in order to unify the entire division. The Gypsy King first said he would retire before saying he would fight Usyk again following the Ukrainian's 2 victories over Anthony Joshua. The negotiations appear to have come to a standstill, and it is unclear if the two can schedule what would be arguably the biggest fight in sports history. Usyk, however, is convinced that in order to establish who is the best in the division, both he and his opponent must compete. "I need this fight with Tyson Fury, and that's it," he said on the Overlap in association with Sky Bet. He too requires it. This fight, which pits a big man who has never lost before against a man who holds the WBC belt, will be like any other. Of course, it's possible to get carried away, but this is just a typical battle for supremacy in the belt stakes.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we had for today. Comment below what are your thoughts on the possible matchups between these two. Till next time, cheers!